So do you really struggle with pursuing pleasure or getting help? Or maybe it's a friend or family member and you've noticed the same thing. They just refuse to get help, or they just can't live a life that has any type of pleasure. Well, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why that happens. Now, in those, there's like several, 3 to 4 things, so you're going to get about 20 different things, reasons or explanations as to what causes this dilemma of an inability for us to seek help. You'd think we'd all want to get better and live life to our potential, but it's incredibly rare for any of us to live a life where we pursue pleasure and we seek help. Just think, how many times have you procrastinated today? That's avoiding pleasure. That's avoiding help. It is a common occurrence. It is rare that any of us ever pursues help and pursues pleasure. So let's tackle where that came from, because I don't know about you, I'd like more of us to experience more pleasure. So the first reason is this: it's the codependence we learned in childhood. I know people don't want to hear that, but we are all codependent. We're all raised codependently, and there are many ways that shows up, but one of those is, do you realize, think about it as a child, who did we depend on for pleasure? Our parents, right? Because who allowed us to play with that toy? Or who allowed us to have that friend sleepover? Who allowed us to go outside and do whatever it was? It was our parent. Like, for us to seek pleasure, we needed our parents' approval. So do you see what we learned? In those moments, we learned that pleasure and help comes from outside of us. It's not internal. All right, now this isn't blaming parents. I mean, most times parents restrict pleasure because they're trying to teach us things. It's very good for us. But there are also, in many cases, equally as many times, parents restrict us pleasure because they don't want to deal with it. They're overwhelmed in their own life. And so they just go, stop it, go to your room, just not now, all right? And so it's in those moments that a child learns to depend on pleasure from their parents. And so now, as an adult, think about it in your life. How many times in your relationship do you turn to your partner looking for permission to have pleasure? Oh gosh, do you want to do that? Where do you want to go to eat? Oh, I don't care. Where do you want to go? Well, it doesn't matter to me. You just pick. Well, I'll eat anything. And you have couples just back and forth. Can't make a decision. Don't want to offend the other one. They just want the other one to decide, oh, it's okay to have pleasure. And we just don't even know how to ask for our needs and wants. We don't even know. Many people don't even know what brings them pleasure because their parents decided those things for them. Who they could play with, whether someone could spend the night, if they could have friends over, if they could play with this toy, whatever it may be. Our pleasure was decided for us, and so now here we are as adults, and we feel we need permission. We need validation or acceptance from others before we will seek pleasure or get help. Number 2, obviously, since we are all raised that way, and all of that's codependence, is our beliefs, the way they get shaped. We've all been raised to believe that to seek pleasure is selfish. That what is the ultimate, thing in life is to do things for others, right? No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's wonderful to do things for others. But we're not taught the right and wrong way to do things for others. That actually self-care, self-love is not selfish. That the only time we can truly give to others is if we are doing it from a place of reserve, what I call reserves. In other words, I've loved myself enough, I've taken care of myself enough so that when I do care for you and I do things for you, I'm not depleted. Because what happens when we're depleted? When we've just given and given and given and we got nothing left to give, what do we end up doing? Blaming, resenting, and throwing it in their face, keeping score. You look at all this stuff, like we're filled with rage, all these different things. Well, that's not giving to others. It's a cost. It's a cost to us and it's a cost to them because we're going to hit them over the head for how much we do for them and give to them. But both society, parents, and religion have taught us you just have to give. No matter what, give, 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 give. Again, I'm not disparaging parents. I'm not disparaging religion. I'm just calling into truth that they've missed a step when they teach us how to give. We can't give from a place of depletion. There are rules we need to follow, what I talk about in my book, Your Journey to Success. The whole chapter on the power of saying no and some prerequisites on what we need to do before we say yes and do anything for anybody. If we want it to be authentic giving, if we want to be giving from pleasure, if we want to be helping from a place that's true help and that's not manipulative, and then using it against them. Religion doesn't teach us that. They just teach give. Parents just teach give. You have to give up your pleasure for somebody else. They don't walk you through the process of the right and wrong way to do that. Again, that's not blame. That's just, we did the best we could. We didn't know that this is how it works. But we've all been sent the lie that we are only loving when we do things for other people, and that's not true. And that's the problem you have right now is people are, I call it giving yourself away. They give so much, there's nothing left of them, and because they're so empty, depleted, and angry, they just, boom, man, they make you pay, right? They bring it up, how much they do for you. I say it all the time. It's the biggest reason relationships end, because of all I did for you and you didn't recognize it. Well, that's manipulative. Again, it's unconscious because we're not taught. But the truth is, it's manipulative. It is sadistic. People don't like it when I talk. Bradshaw was the one who coined that. I got that from Bradshaw. He talks about the nice person. Their niceness is thinly sadistic. It is. There's this sadistic quality to it because they take back from you. They punch you with it. They knife you with it. They let you have it. They let you know how nice they were. And that's the thinly sadistic nature to the uber nice person. Now, they don't want to hear that, and I get that. We don't like truth. But as somebody, I met with somebody who follows me, got in touch, and the schedule was right, and so we just met and had lunch, and they were talking about when they first came across the things I talk about. They said, listening to you, it was like, I added this piece. It was like, they said it was like, being force-fed spinach, and I said waterboarded with spinach, and they're like, yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, it's good for you, but underneath it, it's true. And that's the thing about the things I talk about. It's tough to admit truth, that our niceness and our giving ourselves away and being such a help to others has a sadistic quality to it because it's not authentic, that there is manipulation involved. And the proof of that is how much anger and resentment and how we keep bringing up how much we do for other people. That's the sadistic quality. We're making them pay. And I don't say that lightly. And it's not to disparage you or say you're a bad person. You're not. You've been taught this by parents, religion, society, everything. This is what you're supposed to do. You're not. I don't blame you for that. And you're responsible now that you've heard a new way. And for the first time in your life, you now know, oh my gosh, that's right. It is sadistic. It is manipulative. It isn't truly being nice. It's not truly giving. Wow. For the first time in your life, you actually have a choice. You can do something about it. You never had that before, and that's why you're not to blame. So please, don't hear me as disparaging you. And oh my God, more than anything, don't disparage yourself. Put that billy club down. You did the best you could. There's nothing wrong with you. But now you have a new understanding, so you can give from a truly loving place, from a place that will actually create pleasure. And you'll learn how to help yourself and help others if you use this. All right? Number 3. Now we're getting deeper. Because of all of these things, because of the codependent nature, because in childhood our pleasure was taken from us, it was decided for us, That's when we learned the beginning of the worst day cycle. Again, I talk about all of this in my book, Your Journey to Success. Those are traumatic moments that our parents aren't bad, just the nature of raising children and the lack of education on how these simple little things, having a parent decide pleasure for us, create the trauma response, which stage 2 is fear, and now stage 3, the shame portion of the worst day cycle. This is why it's so hard for us to seek out pleasure and seek out help. Because as a child, do you realize we were also shamed when we reached out for help? How many memories do you have of trying to reach out to your parents and them belittling you, saying no to you, not being present for you, neglecting you? Not because they're bad, probably because they were busy, probably because they were overwhelmed with their own unhealed childhood pain in the moment that they were doing their best to navigate with, probably because their own problems in their own marriage and their own careers, because again of their own unhealed pain. Like, not because they're bad people, but in those moments we are shamed. So we have only one choice. We need to physically and emotionally connect to another human being as a child. And so what do? We develop a false self, what I call a false persona. We do that so that we can forge connection to our parents because our life depends on it. And this is where we get, we start to develop these beliefs that they become ingrained. And so now they're subconscious. Now we're not even aware that our giving, our pleasure, all of these things are completely distorted. They're completely destructive, but they were done as a survival mechanism. All right. And so what we have now learned because of the worst day cycle is that we get our pleasure and our power from our pain and our suffering. Do you recognize that when we go through pain and suffering, we can now judge, blame, criticize, and society rewards us for being the victim? We all learn professional victimhood as a child. That's what shame is. Shame is about power. Ultimately, we are so disempowered and told that we have no worth, that as adults we flip that dynamic, we play the victim, and we use it to control and manipulate others. That's what the cancel culture is. That's what when people try and legislate speech and say, don't say these words. Do you see what they're doing? They're trying to control you. Well, we know that emotions are created, that we create emotions. Nobody makes us feel anything. Our brain and body creates them based on our past experience and our culture, where our culture has told us words, your words can destroy me. So we have a belief. We learned in childhood, what do I need in childhood? Mom, dad, everyone, believe this. Mom, dad did this to me. So I have to accept the belief that your words hurt me. And so that's what gets triggered is a past experience. You've just created that emotional event within yourself. Now, what's the advantage? Do you see if I say your words hurt me, do you see what advantage I get? Power. I have total control over you. You have to speak in a way that suits me. But wait a minute. Sandy over here and Joe over here, they like different words. So now I'm paralyzed. Which words do I use? I can't speak anything. That's the problem with all of this stuff is, do you see, everyone's trying to control everybody and say, you can't do this. Well, whose words are right? I know you feel like, yeah, but their words are really bad. Okay, like, I might agree with you. But they're over here going, your words are bad. Like, you can't legislate this. That's why it's the worst day cycle. Do you see? It keeps everyone the victim. It keeps everybody in purgatory. Everybody reliving their pain and everybody fighting power. I'm better than you. You have to give me what I want. That's the nature of shame and the worst day cycle. And that's why we don't seek pleasure or don't seek help. Do you see what I'd have to give up? Power. Because I use this victim position to control you and say you can't do that. And so I'd have to let that go. To pursue pleasure and to pursue help, I'd have to let go of the manipulative, controlling dynamics we've all used for centuries to get other people to do our job for us. Like, I know, I get it. So we don't realize how much pleasure we're getting from our pain and our dysfunction. Again, if you really want to learn more about it and go deeper in it, it's in my book, of how the shame and denial portions of the cycle. And that leads us to step 4. Because society and parents, our whole human existence is set up to control and manipulate for power from that victim position, from that shame position, it sends us into denial. The denial portion, stage 4 of the worst day cycle. Do you see what we have to do to get pleasure and hope and help? We have to give up all of these truths I've just brought up. Oh my God, I'm controlling people. I'm the problem. It's not their words that are the problem. It's me trying to legislate their speech, me playing God over everyone, saying, my definition of words, my definition of the world is right and yours is wrong. I'm playing God. I have to give up all my power. Well, screw you, Kenny. I kind of like this power. I kind of like making everyone my puppet and saying, yeah, you can't say that word, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're evil, you're racist, all these different things we're doing. I have to give that up. Well, I don't know that I want to do that. Because do you see what underlies all of that? Why did we develop that victim persona, that shame-based persona that controls everyone and everything? Remember, what's the one thing we need in childhood? Attachment to mom and dad, or our caregivers if mom and dad weren't around. And so, to give up our shame and the manipulative power position we've all taken, we became this person to get connection. We dropped our authentic self. We became a self who uses and manipulates like this to fit in our parents' world so they'd love us, so they wouldn't reject us. So to drop all that, do you see what subconsciously it's asking us to do? One, to admit, oh my gosh, I don't know who I am. I didn't realize I was controlling, manipulating, playing the victim by avoiding pleasure. I didn't realize I was doing it to myself. I don't want to admit this truth, Kenny. Don't make me admit the truth about myself. No, 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 no. They're the problem. It's not mom and dad either. No, don't make me see the truth, because do you see, Kenny, I became all of this to get mom and dad to love me. So if you take that away, I don't have mom and dad. Now I'm really alone. So I don't know who I am. I got to give that up. I got to give mom and dad up. I got nothing. No power, nothing. I got to start all over. And I'm 20, 60, 80 years old. Screw you, Kenny. All my beliefs, I have to let all of those go. My view of myself, I have to let go. It's the death of us. This is the death of the false self that everyone gets to decide if they want to go through in life. Now, sadly, most choose not to. And those in the political correct world are choosing not to. They are choosing a life stuck in purgatory where they will never live out pleasure, true pleasure, and they'll never get real help because they're stuck in the falsely empowered, shame-based victim position of controlling everyone and everything so they don't have to experience the underlying pain of their childhood and how their pleasure and help was taken from them by perfectly imperfect parents and a society that has never taught how any of this works. Nobody is to blame. Everybody is in pain. That's a mouthful. And now you can see why that person would say it's like being, listening to me is like being waterboarded with spinach. It's a bit of a mouthful. But I think you can see it'll help you. And it's truth. And if we want to experience pleasure, and if we want to be able to get help and give help, we have to experience truth. It's the only way. We have to navigate from that place. So, that leads us to step 5. The answer is in the opposite of everything we've been taught. Do you see what we've all been taught? We've been taught to avoid the negative, to try and stop the negative. Do you see the cancel culture and all these people trying to legislate words and everything? They're trying to stop the negative. Don't do it, because I can't survive it. It hurts. And do you see what's happened in the world since they started doing that in the last 2 years? Problems gotten worse. You can't stop the negative. It creates more negative because it's creating itself. Do you see that? It makes it worse. It stops the ability to achieve the positive. All right? Therefore, all we ever experience is the negative, because the more you entrench yourself in your belief about these words and everything, the more they entrench. Because each side is trying to legislate what they believe is fair. And each side is fighting for the victim position. What you're doing is worse. No, what you're doing is worse. And so they're all fighting for the biggest negative. And so they're all controlling, each side is controlling the other side from the victim position and escalating in their behavior towards each other. There's no pleasure in that. There's no help in that, because there's no truth in that. You cannot solve a problem with a lie at its core premise. Nobody ever makes us think, feel, or do anything. We get to choose. Neuroscience shows that as fact. You can deny that fact of how our brain and body works, and that's your choice. And you get then, the loving thing to do is say, I love that you're choosing to stay the victim and not seek pleasure or help. I totally support you. It is your life. You are autonomous in doing that, but I will not enable your self-destruction. I won't listen to you if you want to complain. I won't hear you trying to control me from the victim position, because your negative creates more negative. But I will let you have it. I'm not going to stop you. I'm just going to choose to leave the room. And I'm going to let all that go. That's the only way to solve it. Let them have it. Let them stay there. Because what is this about? Hurt. There's nothing wrong with them or anything bad about them. They're hurt. Because as a child, their pleasure was decided for them. They were shamed and belittled and told, you don't matter, directly or indirectly. Well, that's devastating. And so all of this control isn't bad. It's just a child saying, will somebody notice me? Will somebody see me and hear me and care about me? Like, why don't we start seeing it from that perspective? The people that can't choose pleasure and don't ask for help, they're a child screaming, I don't know how. Like, I want to cry. Because our society won't tell them the truth. That you're trying to control from the victim position, but you're creating more victimhood within yourself. You're doing it to yourself. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's truth. And that's what you were raised to do. It's a survival mechanism you developed because our society is never taught how to parent without this being the result. And our societal system further rewards it. That's devastating. So, if you want to heal and change and be able to seek pleasure and ask for help, you have to go back to the source. You have to heal the pain from the past that created it. You have to get into truth. That our parents were perfectly imperfect, that society is perfectly imperfect, that we all play the victim, that we're all caught in the worst day cycle. And if you're not aware of how the worst day cycle works, then you're not present in your life. You can't see how you're doing. You're creating the existence in your life, or the things in your life. You're doing it to yourself. So if you want a solution out of this, I have a couple for you. One is free. Go to my website, www.thegreatnessu.com. Join or take my free Your Journey to Emotional Mastery course. It gives you the basic foundation to start healing out of this victim position, out of the worst day cycle, and heal the pain from your childhood that's created all of this in society and everything. It doesn't cost you anything. Please get started on the work. Please choose to start healing yourself. If you want to. You don't have to. The other suggestion I have is to go to my YouTube channel, and under the Worst Day Cycle playlist are 5 videos. They all start out with the exact same title that says Reclaim Your Authentic Self by Becoming Trauma Informed. If you can't see, they're all numbered. If you can't see the numbers on the bottom right of the thumbnail, read the descriptions. They walk you through, tell you which one is 1 through 5. Those will give you the basics of the worst day cycle. So you can start, and look, I'm telling you, I've had to live this to see that this is what we all do. It's not fun. Like, it's not fun in the beginning to go, oh my God, he's right. We're all manipulating from the victim position. If you're early in the process, it's not fun. The further you are in the process, it's exhilarating because you're like, oh my God, this is right. And now life makes sense. And so I can always tell where someone is on the journey. Like there's kind of 3 stages to the journey of reclaiming your authentic self and all of this. In the very beginning, you hate me. You think I am the devil. I am wrong. I'm a narcissist. I'm a victim blamer. Like in the beginning, you can't hear me because the shame and denial is so high. And there's so much pain, and you're so detached from reality and and all of these things, and you're getting so much from playing the victim that you can't hear truth. It's just not possible. I've been that person. All right, that's not a denigrating. This is just the journey, how it works. I've been that person. Then in the middle, it's like you don't like me, but you keep listening. It's like that person, said, no. It's like, oh, gosh, but you keep coming back because you have enough recovery, you have enough reality, you have started to love and forgive and accept yourself enough that you can hear some of it. That you're starting to recognize, God, even though this is the death of me and the death of the false relationship with my parents and the false relationship with the world and my whole construct on how I view the world is wrong, you have enough recovery and self-love that you can hear the truth. And so you keep coming back. And then there's the 3rd step. And this is, I've been everywhere else. I've been to counseling. I've been to therapy. I've watched all the other teachers and everything, and something's missing. And then you start to hear this stuff and you learn about the cycle and you're like, bam, that's it. That's what I needed to get to the other side now, because here you've really developed the self-love. You're really close to it. You just know something's missing. And so you just need those final ways to take your blinders down and accept the complete truth. And once you have that, then it's like, man, I'm over the mountain. Like I can navigate life now. Life isn't perfect, but I don't care. Like I'm no longer the victim. I'm the victor. So if you think this will help somebody, please share it. Leave me your comments. And as always, enjoy the journey.